First up this morning, the state's top cop is here. If we see the state patrol, of course, it's usually on the highway, I think. As we are cruising along, maybe worried we're going a little too fast, and speed is an issue.
That's right. Tony Burrell is the superintendent of Wisconsin State Patrol, and he joins us now with more on what he sees every day on our state's roadways. Good to see you.
You're becoming a veteran of the Yellow Couch now.
I know.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank
you were here, was
much.
it last year?
It was a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a year. Thank
Yeah.
you. Glad to be here.
In one
to have
year,
you.
what have you learned? What have you kind of experienced as superintendent?
Well, I was just speaking with a group yesterday, a church group yesterday, and I shared with them the experiences that I've had over this past year. And one of them is obviously the great and enormous amount of responsibility that this job comes with. Overseeing approximately 450 officers, which is a 24/7, 365 operation.
Yeah.
You know, and you go out there and you take things for granted. In this position, I don't take that for granted.
Good for you. I feel a lot of responsibility as a parent, and I'm not kidding. I can't even imagine what it's like to be you. And it makes me wonder, because we were talking about parenting, were you always sort of a responsible kid, and were you sort of a rule follower?
Yes.
I don't believe that now.
No, my parents raised me well.
Yeah.
I
So you
think I
always
did.
were kind of a responsible kid. Do you think
Well, yeah, I can say
the
that
most
for the
part?
most part. For the most
Okay.
part, yeah, I had my days.
Because I always see I see people being attracted to law enforcement for one of two reasons. Either they were the bad kid and they know the ins and outs. They're like, I got to stop this because they're reformed.
Exactly.
Or they were super responsible the whole
Yeah.
time. So
Yes.
do you see that in
I do
personalities?
see that in personalities, and that's what makes a good trooper.
Yeah.
Someone who has the ability, who's self-motivated, an individual who is willing and wanting to help others, has good communication skills, and specifically for State Patrol, you've got to have the ability to work in all kind of weather conditions as well.
Yeah. You said last time you were here that I could go about 5 to 7 miles over the speed limit and be just fine. I'm just kidding. He did not say that. However, I did ask. But you did say that speeding was truly one of the biggest issues on the road. Is that still the truth of what you're seeing in Wisconsin?
It is. It's one of the biggest, and I say it's the most common one that we see quite a bit every year, every day actually. Unfortunately, you know, lives are lost because of it. You know, last year alone, 160 people lost their lives due to speeding-related crashes.
Yeah.
And there were approximately 22,000 of those crashes that occurred around the state. And those are lives, those are families that are grieving. And unfortunately, we're working with the locals and sheriff's departments and county and city agencies to try and track or crack down on those type of reckless driving issues that are going around the state.
I remember when I was a reporter in Texas and some in Milwaukee too, and reporting on a lot of traffic accidents. And one of the things I remember a cop saying to me a long time ago was, regardless of what's going on, so a lot of people say, well, the weather was really bad, so I had an accident, or there's some new signs or construction. But the thing that I remember him saying was, the common factor in all of that is speed. Because if you're going slow enough, 99% of the time, you could have avoided that accident. And it's just such an important reminder to us about the speed at which we drive.
You should drive at an appropriate speed. There is no speed limit above, or you know, that some people have asked about. But you should drive at an appropriate speed, especially specific to the conditions of the road.
Yeah.
If it's dry, if it's wet, if it's snow, and specifically in heavy traffic. So you want to be driving in something that's, you know, conducive to the conditions.
Yeah, sometimes we think our tires are good for rain, but we can't see very well. That's the hard part, right? What sort of offense do you just shake your head at? Are you just like, really? You know, like, there's got to be something. What is it?
I honestly, it's got to be the speeding. I mean, what's the hurry? I mean, where is the need to get to anywhere you need to get to in such a hurry that you would risk life for that purpose? The other one is distracted driving. That's a big one.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Another big no-no out there. Folks with their cell phones, obviously, and you shake your head. Is it seriously worth that? Your life or the life of others to be on the phone? And,
Is that addicted
it's a
to
big,
it?
Exactly. It's another issue that it's probably our second most common issue that we encounter out there.
I'm once again finding myself a parent of a young driver. So my third and youngest child is now behind the wheel and has her attempts. And
Congratulations.
It's her scariest child for driving.
Yeah. It's very stressful though. It's probably one of my least favorite things, because I think when you're that young, it's hard to appreciate an automobile and the impact it can have and the responsibility that you have being behind the wheel. And we have someone here in a little bit talking about safe driving habits. But I just wonder how much do you see a lot of inexperienced drivers on the road causing problems, or do they tend to be more cautious because they're learning? Do you have a thought about that?
I think there's a combination of both. I mean, there are studies and things that we encounter in terms of the number of young drivers that are out there. We do know statistically that the younger drivers have a higher propensity for crashes. But I think, just thinking though, it's one of those things where parents like yourself who are involved with their kids when they're driving and learning and giving them those responsibilities and sharing with them the rules of the road and making sure that they understand the responsibility, the enormous responsibility it is to be behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah, be a good role model for that. Are there any new procedures in place? I hear a lot of people talking about this, the fact that Illinois is legal for marijuana, and a lot of people in Wisconsin going to Illinois and trying to then bring back into Wisconsin. Is there any different procedures or things that you guys have been seeing on the roads due to that?
No, Wisconsin, here in Wisconsin, we still enforce the marijuana laws here. I mean, unfortunately, that's, whether it comes in here or you bought it somewhere in another state illegally, it's illegal here in Wisconsin, and we still enforce that here.
Yeah, you don't make the laws, you enforce them.
Enforce
I bet you're always reminding people of
We
that.
remind them.
I
Sorry,
Exactly.
Yeah. Just lastly, in closing, do you have a goal for next year or a thought moving forward, something that's taking a lot of your attention or something that you want to focus on?
One of the things that I'm focused on right now is our recruiting efforts. And we're trying to, again, recruit some individuals into the agency, and we're looking for good quality people.
Any age?
Any age, age 18 minimum. But we're looking for people, like as I mentioned before, who's good communication skills, who has ability and desire to want to help others, and is willing to work in all types of weather conditions, because that's something that state troopers do. They work in all types of weather conditions. But for the most part, we're looking for good quality people coming from all multicultural backgrounds, educational backgrounds, and the like.
That's great. So good to see you again, Tony.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so much.
joining us.
Appreciate it.
You
Thanks
got to
for
come
having me.
back every year now.
Yeah.
It's got to be our thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
I
here.
like it. We
You call me,
appreciate
I'm
your
here.
time.
All right,
you.
stay
Thank
safe
you.
out there.
Yeah, and thanks for the work that you do. We really
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
it.